Hi, hello, good evening, and a very warm welcome to all the lovely audience. I'm Rosin Jolly, and today I have with me a very special guest from the field of medical sciences. And we are going to be delving into one of the most important topics, that is Raffaello procedure for hemorrhoids. And I have with me Dr. Vani Vijay from Apollo Spectra Hospitals, Chennai. Before I welcome Dr. Vani, let me give you a brief introduction about Dr. Vani. So, Dr. Vani Vijay is a highly skilled general surgeon with 16 years of clinical practice. She's renowned for her expertise in laparoscopic surgeries in the field of proctology. She is amongst very few female surgeons to hold a diploma in laparoscopy from European Institute of Telesurgery and IRCAD, France. With a remarkable proficiency in various surgical procedures, including surgeries for hemorrhoids, fissure, fistula, hernia, appendix, and breast surgeries, Dr. Vani has earned a reputation for delivering comprehensive and exceptional clinical outcomes. She has also pioneered the modern surgical techniques like laser surgery for piles, fissures, and fistula. And as a female surgeon, Dr. Vani has garnered attention from a large number of female patients seeking specialized care in the fields of proctology, gastroenterology, and breast related issues. A very warm welcome to you, Dr. Vani.
Thank you, Rosin. Very nice introduction and very proud and happy to be part of Apollo Spectra.
Thank you, Doctor. Indeed, it is our privilege to have you speaking for us. So, without wasting any further time, I think we should get started, Doctor. To begin with, our topic for the day is about the Raffaello procedure for the treatment of hemorrhoids. So, first of all, I want you to explain to us what exactly is hemorrhoids.
Okay, so hemorrhoids is a very common disease. A statistics which says in 5 people, one of them would be having hemorrhoids. So
Okay.
in the layman's term, hemorrhoids is called piles. You would have heard that. So
Yes,
without
yes.
piles, we can smile. That's what we say. So piles or hemorrhoids in our clinical terminology means there are a lot of anal cushions in the rectum, in our rectum and the anus. So the anal walls have blood vessels and they are called the anal cushions which protect our anus. So when
Okay.
there is a lot of straining and there is a lot of pressure, these veins or blood vessels start to swell up, and those swellings bring along a lot of mucosa along with it, the pink area, which come down through your anal orifice where you pass motion, and when it comes down it's a prolapse. So most of us think that it's a small skin thing coming out of the anus and something is poking, something is uncomfortable. So these are called hemorrhoids, or in layman's term as piles.
Okay. I think most people will be familiar with the term piles, but mostly people don't know that hemorrhoids is another name for piles. So you mentioned earlier that one of the causes is straining. So can you also give us other causes that leads to hemorrhoids in people, and also the risk factors that are associated with hemorrhoids?
Okay. So yes, the straining reasons could be because if you're going to have constipation. So constipation is a very broad term, and it can be defined depending on the kind of stools you have, the frequency of stools you have, and the time you take to pass those stools from your colon to the anus and outside. So constipation is a very important terminology, which is a major risk factor for causing hemorrhoids. If the patient is constantly constipated, then obviously the lot of straining happens, the pressure in the anal area increases, thereby leading to hemorrhoids or piles. Now, the
Okay.
risk factors which you asked me, Rosen, this could be because of, as I said, straining, less water intake. What are the reasons we could constipate, right?
Right, right.
So that includes passing, a long time if you're going to sit in the washroom, kind of strain, play with your mobile phone, read a newspaper. So these things cause a lot of pressure and takes a
Right.
longer time to pass stools.
Yes.
In children also, we have seen these when they don't drink enough water. They don't drink water at school, so they come back and they start straining, sitting in the loo for a long time and strain. In adolescence or in the younger age group, say when they start going to work or when they are in college, they also have a lot of different kind of eating, what we call as junk eating, a lot of maida, a lot of uh, you know uh, the not so healthy diet.
Gluten, yes.
Yes, the not so healthy.
Sugars.
Yes, very much. So these things do cause a topsy turvy in the colon, leading to constipation, difficulty in passing motion, and that's in that age group. Now, when you are going to get married and you are going to be pregnant, that is another risk factor for constipation, because when you are pregnant, nevertheless, you are going to have constipation, and the gynecologists do support the baby and the mother's health with folic acid, iron tablets, calcium tablets, which are imminent. But these definitely will cause constipation for the patients who don't hydrate themselves and compromise this. So this is another age group. And finally, the older age group, the veteran group, right, the geriatric, what we call, these patients intake is considerably reduced. Either it's because of age or energy levels or the kind of they can't eat chew much and eat, so they go on to a soft diet. So these age group patients also have a little bit of constipation.
Doctor, when you say constipation, also, I think a lot of people it differs the number of times you pass the stool or go. So, what is an ideal time? I mean, when should a person really understand that they have constipation, and when should they come forward for seeking treatment? Because I'm asking this specifically related to hemorrhoids, because one must understand that they're going through constipation and it can lead to hemorrhoids. So just to touch upon, to understand, when do you turn something as constipation?
Usually, constipation means it's fine if you pass 2 to 3 times stools in a day, or you
Okay.
pass once in 3 days also. So these
Okay.
two things being the norm or normal, anything other
Okay.
than that which delays passing of motion, we usually say as constipation.
Okay. Any other, genetic predispositions or medical conditions that may increase the risk of hemorrhoids?
Yes, a lot of antipsychotic drugs which patients have if they are on psychiatric treatment, if they are on thyroid treatment, or if they have undergone a dental procedure and they have analgesics meaning painkillers or antibiotics. These are also reasons to cause constipation, but
Okay.
you can't avoid these are known devils, during our medical treatment protocol. So the only advice is to balance it with the kind of diet we take, so that we don't do the blame game for medications, but we
Yes.
know what we are going in for.
So, any specific dietary or lifestyle changes that can, seriously significantly reduce the risk of hemorrhoids?
Dietary, definitely you need to include a lot of green vegetables, good amount of fruits, like variety of fruits. Eating one apple is considered okay, but if you're going to eat multiple varieties in the same bowl, like half an apple, half a papaya, half something else, some grapes, oranges, so there'll be like a 3 to 4 variety of fruits which have a typical balance about hydration and nutrition and vitamins in the fruits. Similarly, the vegetables. So I would say make your rice quantity, or the wheat or atta, whatever you want to, make it minimal in your plate, and increase the vegetable intake, like your gravy with vegetables, your dal or your sabji with vegetables, whatever it is, increase that quantity of it on your plate. So this should be sufficient for a regular day-to-day good bowel habit, less of constipation, good fiber intake, good roughage for your colon. This should suffice.
How does a doctor diagnose hemorrhoids?
So we have a rectal examination done. So a specialist understands this the best, and when we have
Okay.
and when we have a rectal examination done, we understand whether it's a pile, it's a fissure, or a fistula. Those are the three common things which we can, the most common which we can diagnose in the OP.
Okay. Now coming to our actual topic, Raffaello's procedure. What exactly is this, and how does this work?
So Raffaello's procedure is the latest, the new kid on the block for the treatment of hemorrhoids. Raffaello itself means radio frequency ablation of hemorrhoids in local anesthesia. So it is basically a radio frequency technology which ablates. Ablates means starts to shrink those tissues. Tissues meaning the ones which are swollen, which we term as hemorrhoids.
Okay.
So the typical methodology, how it works is we have a small Raffaello probe, which is a radio frequency device, and this goes into the hemorrhoid, and it starts to shrink the blood vessels and coagulates the protein, denatures the protein, and shrinks the hemorrhoid.
Okay. So you mentioned that this is a new treatment currently. There are other minimally invasive treatments as well. So what is there any major difference that you can point out between the other treatments and this procedure?
Yes, definitely. So this is the new kid on the block, as I mentioned. The laser was very interesting until now, and it was being practiced for quite some time. In fact, we at Apollo Spectra Chennai were the pioneers to do it in the whole of Tamil Nadu. And very good results and good number of patient turnout and everything. But now we have moved into this procedure, which is called the Raffaello's procedure. Thankfully, Novomed Systems, he's the person who's got this into our country, and we at Apollo Spectra are pioneering this right now in the south of India.
Okay. So, for a patient, what can they expect, before the surgery is done, during the course of the procedure, and after that?
So, Raffaello's procedure is basically, as I defined and expanded it, it's done under local anesthesia. Now, in Europe, this procedure has been done for over 15 years. Okay. And now we have brought it into India. So in Europe, the surgeon there, he's presented a publication where he's done about 3,000 cases, and the results were extremely good. These clinical studies are also being done in India. There is another colleague of mine who's in the other part of India. So he also is doing the same kind of a procedure. And in this procedure, what we do is, we typically admit the patient like a daycare surgery. It's not like an admitted night through procedure. So in the daycare surgery, what happens is the patient comes in the morning at 6 o'clock in the empty stomach. We do the procedure, and then we send back the patient after the procedure, maybe 3 to 4 hours. What happens in Europe is what we were trained back then. It is done in local itself. So the patient walks in, gets the procedure done under local anesthesia, and walks out.
Okay.
And it was very surprising during our training period that the pain score on a scale of 0 to 10, where 10 would be the highest, all right? The pain score was 1 or 2 during the procedure.
Wow.
Which is typically awesome. Okay. And what happens in our country is that we have a lot of resistance mentally to have an injection go through the anal area. Hence we go into a little bit of a sedation or a spinal block, where the patient is really comfortable, and after the surgery as well, there is pain free, and we're going to like observe the patient for 3 to 4 hours, and then we're going to discharge.
But the procedure as such, how long is the duration of the procedure?
So I would say each pile is being treated by this radio frequency. Each pile would require something around 3 to 5 minutes.
Okay.
as such.
So
So if you're going to treat, say, 3 piles or 4 piles, we don't do more than three. Three is the max at one sitting is advisable. So if you're going to
okay.
do three fives are 15. Plus and
Right.
minus would be another 15 minutes. And
Okay.
in and out of the theater and hospital, and how Indian system is. So it would be probably 45 minutes, all inclusive.
That's actually a very short procedure, if we were to say.
Yes, very, very short, very, very short.
So let me understand, if the condition of the patient is more severe with more than three or multiple piles or hemorrhoids, then are you going to do this in multiple settings, multiple procedures? With is there a recommended time between the first procedure and the second procedure? Can you throw some light upon that?
So, Rosen, in India, we don't have that luxury of doing in multiple sittings, considering
No.
the financials and considering our insurances and considering our patient's mindset as well.
Right.
I mean, we shouldn't go into that discussion. That's not our cup of tea.
Okay.
Nevertheless, we'd like to treat the maximum of 3 hemorrhoids or 3 piles in one sitting, and we
Okay.
would choose the biggest out of the four if there are four. But if you see, in 80% cases, 2 to 3 will be the demon which is disturbing the patient.
Got it.
So
Got
we
it.
don't
Yeah.
require another sitting per se. you know if at all they want to get it corrected, then we can always educate them and say, yes, you will require another procedure, maybe after 6 weeks or 8 weeks. But usually this is not the case, because we treat all the three and that should be sufficient.
I should have asked you this question a little earlier, I feel, but nevertheless, are there different types of hemorrhoids or different stages of hemorrhoids? Now that you mentioned about, you said 2 or 3 maybe the complicated ones that require treatment. So, should they be coming in right at the beginning of an issue, or when do they seek assistance?
So basically, Rosen, this depends on the symptom of the patient. The patient comes to us only when they have a symptom. Even if they see a skin tag outside their anus, and if it doesn't bother, they don't come to the surgeon or they don't come to the specialist.
Right.
Only when there is a pain or there is a bleeding or there is something, do they want to come. Also, as ethical medical practitioners, if there is no symptom and if the patient is not getting disturbed by the small skin tag which is coming out, then we needn't bother about it as well. But if the patient has any other bleeding or itching or irritation along with the skin tag, then we know that the disease is going to progress. It's not going to regress. So we
Right.
do put it outside on the platter to the patient and say, you know what, you've got this, and it's not going to regress. It's going to only get more and more as your constipation or your complaint is going to increase. Might as well you get this sorted. Even with these latest technologies, there are some limitations. When I mean limitations, the earlier the better, and the outcome is excellent. Suppose the patient is going to come, say, in grade 3 or grade 4, which means grade 1 and 2 are moderate to be dealt with. So, grade 3 and grade 4 have their own difficulties to be handled. Their sizes are big, their feeding vessels are more. So, only radio frequency or only a laser, even if it was, would not be the only support for the
Will
surgery. So what happens is, sometimes you might need to take a suture, you might need to use something else. So to prevent that, we say that the earlier is the best.
Unfortunately, I think in our country, especially with piles, people are a little embarrassed, a little shy, and uncomfortable to come
Very
forward
sad.
and seek treatment.
Very sad.
But from what
Yes.
I understand, like you said initially, you said 1 in 5 patients has this condition. So that means I think people should understand that a lot of people are suffering from this, and it's okay to come and seek treatment at the earliest and get it treated.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Can we also understand what are the kind of risks and the potential side effects that are associated with this procedure?
So, Raffaello procedure is considered very safe In the clinical studies which have been done over so many years, the recurrence rate would be less than 1%. And
Okay.
in the bleeding, the amount of bleeding is probably 1 to 2 ml during the procedure, which is very, very safe and admissible. In comparison to any other procedure, if you consider, say, laser or any other procedure, the thermal damage around the tissues for Refillo's procedure is pretty much 1/4 of the other procedures. So the
Yes.
thermal damage, meaning the amount of tissue which is damaged around the particular technique, right? That is 25% as compared to any other procedure, which is an excellent tool for us to run for it and grab it and do it. And
Yes.
the next one would be the recovery time and the pain score. As we already discussed, Rosin, earlier, the recovery time would be about 5 days to 1 week and a maximum of 10 days. The pain score, as we already discussed, even in the local anesthesia, the pain score would be so less. So in a saddle block or in a spinal, which we usually follow, it's considerably very convenient.
So you said it will take maybe around 3 to maximum of 10 days for healing, but the person can continue with their normal life, is it, or do they have to, have a lot of medication and bed rest or anything like that? Can they get back to normal life soon, immediately after, even though they are under rest?
So my advice would be that they have undergone a procedure. Let's respect that. At least the first 24 to 48 hours, I would ask them to have some restricted activity, not run around the house. Just be walking around the house. Your day-to-day activities is fine. You can do your cooking, you can do your office work, you want to do your laptop work, just incline yourself, sit, chill for 2 days after the procedure. Eat good food, take care of your health, a lot of protein, those kind of well-being advice just for the first 24 hours. In regard to the painkillers, earlier we were giving a lot of painkillers for all of the procedures. Surprisingly, we have reduced it to almost 70% of what we were giving. We have taken it off, so that unless the patient wants, we don't even give. And max to max, the first 5 days we do give some support with the painkillers.
Okay.
Antibiotics we have completely stopped. Only during the surgery we give 1 dose of the antibiotic just before the surgery during the anesthesia part, and then we are good to go. We don't give any antibiotic post the procedure.
Earlier, I had asked you about any side effects, any particular side effect known to the procedure, because it is a relatively new procedure you mentioned. Though it is new in India, you said it's been followed outside India for more than 15 years. So, is there any known side effects one has to be aware of?
Literally, there are no side effects. Maybe a little bit of bleeding in the second week we have noticed for very few patients, and a little bit of infection. But this would be, say, about 5 to 7% of the patients only. There is no such extreme side effects which we have noticed until now.
And the final question. So, is there any ideal candidate for the fellow procedure?
I would say that a clinical examination and patient selection is very important, and the experts who have been trained in this are better to handle and choose this. But there is no elimination which is required. We can still give it a try, unless and otherwise the patient comes in an emergency with a strangulated piles or really huge piles. Then Refillo procedure may not be the right choice at that point in time, but we could still wait, settle down the hemorrhoids and the pain, and wait, and maybe plan the Refillo as the next sitting, not immediately.
Any
But there are no side effects or contraindications not to do. Even for pregnant
oh,
patients, it's fine.
so, and I think with that, it's time to wrap up this session. I hope all the viewers who are watching this has found this to be informative and helpful. Once again, a very special thanks to you, Dr. Vani Vijay, for joining us and giving us all these insights. I'm sure the audience has benefited out of this. And from your profile, we understand that you are truly an expert. So I hope everyone comes to you and seeks your, help in getting out of this at the earliest. Thank you once again for joining me. Yes,
Happy
and
to help.
yeah, and to all our viewers, thank you for joining in. And I really hope you found this session very useful and informative. I hope to see you back once again with another interesting session. Until we meet again, this is Rosin Jolly saying bye bye.